appreciate it. Again, get some pizza in the back there. And basically the reason I wanted to set this up is for commercial real estate investing as a mastermind type of group. So what I would like to do is we'll go around, just introduce yourself, kind of tell us what you're looking at gaining tonight, and hopefully within the group we can either work on it for next month or give you some suggestions right on the spot as far as what you're looking at doing. If you're starting a commercial, or if you're having, I got a building under contract, I got this, whatever, that's what we're going to do. And it's kind of not going to be me, preaching all night long. So that's kind of the way that I want to kind of run this. And I'm not running this, I'm being a facilitator for this. So if you could start like with your name, what you were, what's your current real estate focus, if any. If you're just starting, that's cool. What would, coming here to this group, make it a success. Hey, I want to find a partner. Hey, I want to find money. Hey, I want to find a building. I want to find out how to find, like we were just talking about here, how to find those kind of opportunities out ahead of time. Anything, there's nothing that's off limits or anything like that. And then share a challenge that you're facing right now. Is it, hey, I don't know where to find this information. I don't know where to start. Do I need to start with 5 units, 10 units? Do I need to do 100? And that's what we're going to kind of do here, is because collectively in the room, we've probably got, what? I'm only 27. That never goes well. I'll stop lying right now. I've got 25 years experience in real estate, both residential as well as commercial. And I know that some of these people in the room have a lot of that and more. So we have the knowledge base here. It's just sharing that in what you're looking at doing. Hopefully we can help you do that. And that's the reason for these masterminds. It's kind of not going to be kind of teaching from here. It's cumulatively how we solve this issue. Okay? Is that cool? So I'll start. I'm Pat Gage. I'm the facilitator. I'm the one that set this up. Reason for setting this up is I wanted to mastermind and talk things over with people. Because when you get into the real estate business, especially being an entrepreneur or solopreneur, you lose that contact of, let's say, a business or a company where you don't have very many people to bounce ideas off. And a lot of times masterminds and stuff like that are hundreds of thousands of dollars. I paid a gentleman $30,000 to sit with him for 8 hours. So if things are expensive, that's kind of wanted to do this in a thing where we can work with local people here and talk and mastermind things. And either if we can help in one point or another, would be great. And my current real estate focus right now is multifamily and mobile home parks. So I'm working on those two. I have a full-time job. I do this on a part-time right now. What would make coming here be a success? Helping somebody here in the room have an aha moment. Okay? I don't know everything, I'll tell you that right now, but I have done a lot of different things and learning every day. Like I just talked yesterday, I learned something new about mobile home parks yesterday that I didn't know, and that is what I love, is learning that so then I can apply it to my business and how I move that forward. A challenge right now I'm currently facing is right now I'm facing a challenge with putting an LOI on a mobile home park that is meeting a few of my metrics, but not all of them, and trying to figure out and pro forma out what this looks like going forward. I mean, if we bring in new homes, how do we bring in the homes? That's what I learned yesterday as far as we're a HUD state. I don't know if I heard saying that. We're a HUD state, meaning that if I bring in a used home, it doesn't have the HUD guidelines, but if I bring in a new home, the manufacturer dictates how I set or put that property on my lot. So that's a big thing in cost. If I buy it from a certain manufacturer, they tell me the type of foundation that I have to have on it. So I have to put that into my numbers as far as how much money, I can get a home from Clayton in Elkhart, Indiana. It costs about $5,000 to truck it up. There's $35,000 to $40,000. I can do that, or I can go buy a used home for $10,000, rehab it like you would a single family home, and then put it on my property that way, so I don't have the HUD guidelines, but I then have to get the engineered plans of the community, the way it was platted, to figure out how they put the homes initially. So you can see the dovetail, all the different things I had to figure out. Does the seller have the original engineering plans? If they don't, then I got to go to the state and get that kind of stuff. So those challenges. So when you're working on your numbers and going out for looking for private money, you got to make sure that you have the right number. If I would have said, okay, I'm just going to bring in 5 homes, it's going to cost me 10 grand a piece, and not accounting for the transport, the setting. I got to put piers now, I got to visqueen, and then putting also the plumbing into the main system, and then also the getting it transported there. So those will affect you.
And I have a question for you. So if you're rehabbing a home like a like a single family residence, how does that affect also financing on that? If it's not necessarily meeting the HUD guidelines, is that going to affect somebody financing that?
I don't know what it is in single family homes. I just know on the mobile home park side, that really doesn't affect me.
I just wondered if somebody purchasing the mobile home from you after you rehabbed it, how does that?
Oh, that on the financing side doesn't affect, because typically when you do a lease to own, the type of clients that are in a mobile home park are not going to go to a Flagstar. They're not going to go to. We're going to finance. So it'll be more self-financing. So that's why, let's say we buy a house from Clayton at $35,000 to get it shipped up here. I would write the note for $35,000 based on the credit, and my lot rent, that would be the payment.
Okay. So you'd be financing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Michigan, it's a lease with option to purchase.
Sure.
Because I'm not a dealer broker.
Right.
So it's also in residential properties as well, because of the the thing after the crash, they changed the law.
Right.
I used to do hundreds and hundreds of lease options, and we held paper all day long.
Right.
Now you can't be a mortgage company without being licensed. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Dodd-Frank.
Dodd-Frank.
So Chairman.
So to do that legally, we do a lease with option to purchase, and there's 3 separate documents. Lot rent, lease option, and the purchase agreement. So that's the challenge I'm facing now, is getting all those numbers compiled while my sellers over the other side of the table going, what are we doing? When are we closing?
Right.
Relax, I got to get all this done.
Yeah,
because
you gotta get all your ducks in a row.
Yeah, get our ducks, because it's not on city water, city sewer, so it has a well. It has a lagoon system, so which is totally foreign to me. Never knew, so I'm learning. I learned that, so that's cool. But anyway, that's the challenge I'm facing, trying to figure that out and get that number so I can go to the private investor and say, okay, I need $300,000, I need $400,000 for the purchase and the purchase of these homes, and which way are we going to do the homes? Because you can buy new homes where it's no money, no cost out of your thing. It's called the 21st Century Cash Program, where you'll order the home, they'll ship it up and set everything for free, and then they put a person in there, and after a year, if they can't qualify, then the property owner's got to take over the payments.
That's great.
Which is great.
That's a great.
But again, are the target market people have the credit score to go get a $30,000 mortgage?
Well, what's the target? 600 up?
Right now, my test ad showed I can do 700, but again, that's just a test ad. People walking in the door really want to have,
That's why.
X-way money. Yeah, oh, I like this, and they forget 700. They're looking for a place to live, so it really comes down to when people walking in the door, what their credit score is. Can they do it in a year? Because $34,000 at a year time frame. That's probably $1,000 a month. I don't think it's that high, but it's they got to get them financed in that window.
Right.
Now they can go once they're financed, they extend it out, but that window, and then it becomes our thing. So we got to put that in the model of our But we get 3 people in there, and they all go, "Hey, I'm moving to Florida." After that year, if we can't fill it, then we take on that payment. I guess it's better than taking a payment on a junker home, but yet it's going to be a lot bigger payment than if I went and bought a $10,000 home and trailer it in.
Right.
So I got to run all those numbers in mind, but I didn't need to get off track.
No.
That's what I'm running with right now, is trying to figure that out, and then figure out what is my numbers going to look year 1, year 2, year 3. Even if I do 5 homes used at the price I'm buying it for, I'll triple the value of it. within the first year, based on my models. But again, that's if everything works out. That's if I can get the 5 homes at this price and bring them in. But the thing is, you can see the payoff is a lot bigger than, let's say, a single family home. But that's just one of the challenges. But anyway, that's my story. And again, I'm Pat. So why don't we go ahead and I'm done. Any questions about what I said? Other than I have no idea what you just said. Tell it to me again. Okay. All right. Do you want to start?
I'll start.
Good
Sure.
start.
I'm Maureen Corthus. I'm the broker for Villa Home in Michigan, the real estate brokerage. And I'm here because I know that Pat is the guru when it comes to commercial deals, especially
Hello, how you doing?
multifamily units. And I wanted to kind of pick his brain a little bit about apartments and dealing with sellers and getting their tax rolls and all of that so that you can get right down to what the ROI is. And what is your best way of accomplishing that?
My best way of accomplishing that, what I've done is through a broker or through a seller. I like to do direct to seller. Basically, my advertising is direct to the owner. I have a system to go find that. I do hunt down ones through brokers, but I tell them the pro forma is typically what the offering memorandum is what they put out. If you see those on sites, those are typically pro formas or what the property could be. So my suggestion would be, listen, I can give you a price, and I can give you a price based. Hello, come on in.
Sorry, Mike.
Oh, that's okay.
We're
You just gotta buy it all. That's
You're just getting started.
it. You're just getting started. So what I would say is, Mr. Seller, these pro formas are great, but if you have the actual numbers, and that's what we buy the property, I can give you a better number than I know that I can go and get financed.
Okay.
Because I know how to get them financed as far as what the bank is looking for a debt coverage ratio, for a cash on cash, loan to value, stuff like that. So I just put it back like that.
Okay.
And I also say, listen, if you have a fear, I can give you a confidentiality agreement, which you already have here. I can email you right now. Because a lot of times it's fear. It
Sure.
really is. They don't want to give that stuff because, you're probably talking to them a couple times on the phone. You probably haven't met them.
Mhm.
Well, you're the guy down the street.
Yeah,
or
right,
you're the
right,
tax
yeah,
guy that I owe
uh-huh.
$400,000 to.
Right.
So you offer that up.
Sure.
And I've only had one person
Not do it. Okay.
I don't need that. Okay, good.
Okay.
But you offer that up before because what you're trying to do is answer their questions in their head before they have them.
Because they're always coming up with, I can give you the spreadsheet of expenses or whatever, but you know that's not the real.
Yeah. Typically what you try to do is get it from the accountant or from a certified copy from the accountant. I said, I don't want to waste your time, and obviously you don't want to waste my time. At some point during this process, we are going to have to get certified copies. If we're going to pay you $1 million, $2 million for this property, that is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
If you want me to give you a fluff offer,
Right.
I don't do that because typically that doesn't work.
Right.
And if you've had somebody, I had this happen in a property in Ann Arbor. The guy, I said, what's your whisper price? $9 million. I said, great. Fantastic. Let me take it back, run the numbers, and I said, there's no way that's going to work. I didn't say that like that, but I sent him back my spreadsheets with the 3 different offers.
Right.
And I said, I'll explain why $9 million is not going to work. My cost of funds are X. And that's what you have to do. So to your question there, you just have to explain, I know the offer that I'm going to get you is financeable.
Right.
My cost of funds are this. I'm going to have to go bank financing. And this is where you kind of put in their head, unless you want to hold the paper,
Right.
we can do something different. But I need those numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And her question was for the gentleman to the left, how do you, when you're talking to a seller of a commercial property, a multifamily, how do you get them to give you the numbers, right? How do you get them to give the rent roll, the T12, and I'll explain what those are. How do you get those out of the seller and or the broker?
Not easy.
It's not easy,
Right.
but again, you got to go to the thing and say, listen, hey, if you want me to give you a realistic offer, I know what I can get financed from the banks. I know what they're going to look for. I need those numbers to give you a realistic offer that I know that we can start with. I can give you what
Right.
you're looking for, but I have no clue if 12 million or 9 million makes sense. Because I have no idea where you're getting those numbers from. And typically the information inside the broker's OM or offering memorandum is stuff that, well, if you do this, this, and this, it's going to be worth this. Well, that's great,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to pay you for my effort.
Yeah.
And that's how, in '08, that's how people got in trouble. And they're kind of doing it now, is these prices are
That's
getting
what I'm
so
seeing.
far up
Mhm.
there that they do not make sense. And I look at probably $100, $200 deals a month. And the number is math. And that's what you understand. It's math, folks. That's all it is. 1 + 1 has to equal 2. 1 + 1 cannot equal 15. It just, there's certain ratios that have to be met. And you can charge, okay, yes, private equity, their cost of capital, cost of funds is lower than anybody here can get. Meaning, you go to the bank, you're going to get bank rate 5%, 6%.
Right.
Their cost of capital is 1% or less. Great, but they're not looking at the deals that you and I are looking at. They're not looking at a 24. They're not looking at a 70 or 100. They're looking at 3 and 4 because they have to place that much money in there. So, but knowing that, you can talk to your seller and say, listen, awesome.
Right.
Love that number doesn't mean anything to me. We buy on actuals because I know that when I'm going to set cement and spend the time and do the due diligence on this, then I want to get you an offer that makes sense to you. Now, I'm not going to tell him in that first conversation he's smoking dope.
Right.
Sometimes I do, but a lot of times I don't. It's okay, great, because they've already had somebody offer them whatever. Mobile home park in Ohio, or not Ohio, Utah that I'm looking at, the gentleman was offered verbally $9 million. I said, great. I sent him my LOI, my whole package, 3 different offer prices, and I told him, I said, it's not 9, it's not, there's no way. I said, I'm going to send it to you. You look it over. And I said, what I want you to do is, you take that LOI, which is good for 30 days, and go talk to that guy that just offered you $9 million. He did, and that gentleman changed his tune. Oh, I got to get this, because it was a verbal offer. He was basing it in nothing. So he discredited that guy. He's like, I never got that. He's not going to buy. Okay, great. My offer is probably not what he wants, but it's what I know I can get financed.
And it's realistic.
And it's realistic. Do you always try to go in lower? Yeah, you do. Come on. I mean, I'm not going to go, but I know my strike price. I know my strike price is here. I start here and work up, just like you would do in single family. I know that the max or Mayo is this. I know I got to go here.
Yeah, you're not going to start at your max. Because
Exactly.
he's not going to come down to that initially
No,
either.
no, I really wanted 2
Yeah.
million. Oh, damn, I offered you 12. Oh. But that's how you work it. So you have to have those numbers to make any sense. Now, in this market here, obviously getting it from a seller sometimes takes several phone calls, takes a lot of talking with them, finessing. That's why I really like going to sellers.
Correct.
That's why I do them directly to sellers, because I spend a lot of time educating brokers in, Grade, another park over in Michigan here. I really want it. But anyway, he was offering a 3.47 cap with a negative, return, cash on cash, negative income. And I called the broker and said, "Are you sure this is the right thing?" "Oh yeah, that's what it is." "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah, I know, dude. Just send it in." Well, he was trying to see what he was asking, like, I don't know, 6 million or something like that.
Thinking of bullseye out there to see
Yeah,
if
and I'm
anything
like,
would stick.
I said, I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna spend my time research. I know the area. I knew. Then that's one thing is, I know the area. I know the park would do well. I didn't do any more than just a half hour. I said, call them back. So listen, I'm not gonna give you an offer because it's nowhere near what he wants. And he understood, because I've talked to the gentleman before. So you can do that. But again, you have to have those numbers.
Right.
So you can put them in your spreadsheets and figure out what,
If they make sense.
if they make sense. Because if you know, let's say the debt coverage ratio a bank requires is 1.25. Right, so that's the level that everything, for every dollar coming in, $1.25 goes to pay expenses. If it, that's the floor. That's the floor right there. So it comes in negative 4.78. You can't do the deal. And that's what you do, is you talk them through when you get the offer to the person. Here's my reasoning. And what I do is I use Zoom, and I'll actually take them through my spreadsheet line by line by line, and explain to the broker and or owner, typically it's the broker, because owners, like the gentleman I'm dealing with now with this mobile home park here locally, you know, he's trying to get the data to me, and we've been, you know, talking for 3 weeks. So we're just trying to pull information out of him. I need this. Okay, I gotta go talk to Dad.
Yeah,
Okay, great. You know, yes, they're less sophisticated than the broker, but you also have to coach them along and say, this is what I need this for. I need this for this. You know, and then we'll go into that. I'll probably meet with him and say, here's what my offer is based on what you told
And then
me.
you're gonna explain it.
You know, and that's what you do. You explain it to him. So listen, based on what you told me, and that's the best way to do it, is defer to a third person. You told me there's 32 vacant lots out of 50.
Mhm.
How do I make money if
Yeah.
I pay you $1 million?
Right.
And just sit back and let them, because they bought
It's
it
a
or sold it.
realization they have to come to.
Exactly. And you say, what do you think would work for you? Well, I really need to, you know, that's why you ask them, you know, do they have any debt on the property? Do they have a mortgage? Any liens on it? If you can help them out and say, listen, I'll pay off that tax lien and give you $50,000 in that. Oh, okay. And that's all I really wanted. So that's why I really enjoy talking. Even with brokers, I educate them on that as well too. Hey, we've got this thing here, because I know exactly if there's a mortgage on the property. I know when they bought it. I know what the taxes will be when I buy it. And that's a big thing here in Michigan, is the taxes when you buy properties here will triple. Just say they're triple. Your purchase price, divide that in half, and times that by the mill rate. Your taxes will triple. So whatever they're paying, triple.
These are on caps.
Yeah, it all in caps, exactly. And a lot of people don't know that. And in commercial, it's even bigger, because your tax bills are hundreds of thousands of dollars. Or in a single family home, it may be $6,000, and it goes now to $10,000. Okay, mom's got to get a job. But in commercial, it goes from 110 to 250. Daddy's already got a job. Now we got to sell everything, and you know the house is up for sale. So that's the. But anyway, going back to your question, that's how I handle that. Is just talk them through. Try not to be, you know. But again, knowing what you want, knowing what you're looking for, and educating that person. Yes, listen, I need this. I can do pro forma, awesome. But you know the bank's not going to go for it. And again, defer to a third person.
Right.
Even if you're going to do seller financing.
It doesn't matter.
Hey, dude, I'd love to pay you $12 million. My thing says it's worth $7. And my banker, you know,
He's not gonna.
I can't do it. I'd love to help you out. I really would love to overpay for this property, but I can't. You understand that, right? Because I mean, if you want that Ford truck, right, you're not going to go
Right.
pay over the sticker for it, right? Yeah, you're right. Well, okay, well then why?
Yeah, you're not gonna pay for the Cadillac.
I want to help you out, and maybe we can't do business. And that's the big thing is I do the takeaway. Maybe we just can't do business. You know, if they really need a seller, well, maybe we can.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
What kind of, when you go into inspections and stuff like that, what kind of, do you show them what cap rate you're looking for? Or how do you?
No, cap rate
You're
doesn't
showing,
mean anything to them or me.
Okay.
I'm looking for,
What
in
kind
my
of-
initial due diligence of the property, I'm looking for the debt coverage service ratio, okay, the DCR is what they call it. And I do have, I can share with you. Okay, let's do this. Let's start here. So your NOI, your cap rate, your DCR, and CCR. I'll go through these really quick, and obviously the Holy Trinity. So to answer your question, your net operating income, what the property is throwing off, okay, which is all your income, rental income, vacancies, all that kind of good stuff, and then your expenses. Multifamily, it's 50%. Your expenses should be 50% of the income. Mobile home parks is 30 to 40%. Different types of properties, self-storage is about 25%. These are just industry standard. Now they, a certain area, but that's where you need to start with. So getting to your question, okay, where do I start? I look for that. Now, can it not make money in the first year? Sure, of course. Excuse me. The reason you're buying a property is you want to do some improvements on it, either by raising rents or fixing the broken units or finding the vacant units that the owner didn't even know he had and getting those back online, and then your NOI goes up. So NOI is important, I would say in the first year, obviously, you always get to go. But again, there's more important things, meaning the debt coverage ratio, because that's your floor. That's the minimums you're going to do with that. And then the cap rate. You talked about the cap rate. The reason I don't say the cap rate, I know the cap rates in areas, but I don't shoot for like, okay, I got to have a 10 cap or 40 cap. Because right now in this market, there is none of those, very few of them. But you can use that as a gauge. Obviously, if the cap rate, again, like it's defined here, is the capitalization rate or the return that you're looking at getting. Seeing that interest rates are 5.5, or let's say just call them 6%, you don't want a cap rate that's 4%. Why? Because you're paying out more than you're getting. That's why everybody in California comes out here to invest, because they're just doing it for appreciation. There is no cash flow at 4%. I mean, there can't be. They're just tucking money away. So capitalization only plays in the cost of it's got to be above what I'm financing for. Okay, but in typical, obviously, you want to shoot for higher the better. You know, earlier in the cycle, we were getting 9s and 10s, and that's a value. Meaning, the higher the cap rate, the more distress that the system, or I should say, the building has on it. Lower cap rates means that there's no value there. Now, I'm not saying straight off cap rate that you have to investigate. You can create and go in at a 3, but it can really turn around and be a higher one because you know what you're doing. So I would know in an area, I typically go for area first. Like what areas I'm looking for? Is that a city that I want to do business in? Okay. Is it growing? Meaning is the population changing? Plus, never negative. In Michigan, there is cities that are doing that. A lot of them are going down. But again, you don't want to be in those cities that people are leaving because they're not going to pay the rent that you're looking at doing for that. So then I dig down and walk the area of the crime and different things like that, and then run the numbers if it makes sense past that. Okay, so that's the cap rate. And then now the cap rate, like an example here, you have a purchase price of $10 million, you have an annual income of 1.3, you have expenses of 500,000. So your NOI is 800,000. And I'll give you this PowerPoint, so I'll show you where you can download it, but you can take notes. So the cap rate on this would be your 800,000 divided by your purchase price. That's how you get the cap rate. So that's why you can see when you get these offer memorandums, and sometimes the cap rate is just so ridiculous because their price is way over. And another thing is multifamily, and knowing these type of, let's say, signposts, the expense has got to be 50%. Somebody comes to you and says, "Oh man, I run so efficiently, I'm at 30%." Great. There's no physical way to do that. There's 2 places in Northville City right now. It's been on the market for about 7 months. Talked to the gentleman. They said, "Oh, these guys run their building great, and it's still for sale." I said, "I'm not even gonna." It's 2.2, beautiful place right in downtown Northville. Love to hire it. "Oh, these guys run it best." Yeah, they run around their keys and their key ring and do all the shit themselves. Well, that's how you can hack. I have no intention of doing that, and you shouldn't either unless you want another job. So you got to look at this, because the reason I say that is unless you're extremely wealthy, you're going to bring other people's money into these deals, and nothing would make me more upset than give some money to somebody who's hang on a second, I have a tenant call, and he's not watching my money because he's out fixing stuff on his property.
Hey, the door's great still over here.
Yeah, and that's what the broker told me. "Oh, these guys run a tight ship." I said, "Really? That's amazing, because the sign looks like shit, and got a lot of deferred maintenance." "Oh, but he's banking on somebody that doesn't know what I do, and hopefully what you will learn. That great. Will there be a buyer? Sure, he'll buy it. Somebody will buy it.
There's always someone.
Of course he will. I just don't want to be this. I've done that before and had to carry properties at hundreds of thousands of dollars a month. It's not fun, because it's not fun. Trust me, it's just not fun. So that's the calculation of cap rate. So to answer your question, I look at it, but then again, I look at other things that make up that. now if I go out and loop now zones and it's 10 cap, it strikes my interest, and I dive in deeper. Why is that? Typically, it's in a part of town that's losing like 5% of your population. Okay, that's fine. You're not going to change that.
No.
You can change the property, but you can't change the location of the
Demographics.
property. Exactly. If it's losing population, there's nothing you can do about that. You can do a water park, but that takes time too. Stuff affecting your cap rate. Lending environment. Obviously, lending environments right now are really tight. A lot of stuff going on. People are buying stuff at lower cap rates. Multifamily is probably in the 6-7 range right now. Used to be at the 9, but those deals are fewer and far between. But again, the higher the cap rate, the more advantageous for investors to go in because there's something wrong with the property. Meaning the price is low compared to what it could be. And sometimes they reverse that and try to sell it on, hey, this is what it could be, but it's really here. That's great. We're going to do what we call retrading, meaning negotiate the terms down, and I don't think you want that, Mr. Broker.
Well, because like you said, then they're trying to sell you on your own services.
Sure.
Repair or fix it
Yeah.
up or rehab.
Yeah, well, if you do this, well, yeah, I'm going to do
My
that.
work.
I'm going to bring in that. I'm going to spend $300,000 in improvement. Why should the previous seller who didn't do that get that benefit?
Right.
Wow, it's a great location. I don't care if it's across from the White House. You didn't answer my question. So that's how you kind of deal. Going back to your question, that's how you deal with those type of questions. Go ahead.
But that would work for someone selling in an area like Wixom where the property may not be.
Oh, sure. Selling, you always want to sell on the lowest cap rate possible. Yeah, selling, you sell on the lowest cap rate.
Well, since they're moving in, and that's a hot market.
But it still has to make sense. Depending on your cost of funds, like the parks going in, those hotels, those are funded by private equity. Those are very rarely funded by guys like this. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's probably a group of people like this that have more money than they need, and they'll be okay with a 1% return or 2% return because they got $400 million, and their saving bonds are paying nothing.
Right.
So yes.
Bank's not giving them anything on
Yeah,
their
bank's
money,
not getting so you pool hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars together. So yeah, you would do that. But again, it's what the end game is. They have obviously more money than they have properties. So they will take those lower cash flowing properties in the hopes that it turns around to appreciation. Hey, we're going to hold this for 10 years. You're still going to get your 1%. The guy's got $2 million and he doesn't know where else to place it. Yeah, for him, that's a great deal.
Right.
I mean, it is, but I hope you guys aren't at that level. If you are, let's go to dinner. But I mean, you got to think about that. But that's a great question. So when you buy, you want to buy at the highest cap rate possible because that gets you your value, your buffer. When you're selling, you want to sell at the lowest cap rate and hope that other side of the equation doesn't know as much as you do. And you're not trying to. Don't get me wrong. You're not trying to scam or you know how to price things.
You want to get your best deal.
You want to get your best deal. Boom, here it is. Just like one part guy called on the other day is I found out through it's one of my mentors. It's in Georgia. This is cool. This is awesome. I'm like, this is cool. So I was running. Let me see who owns this thing. Boom. Like, well, there's no deal there. I emailed back the broker and said, hey, sorry, I already know this person. I don't believe there's any meat in the bone. Thank you. Called another partner or another friend that has a park 2 blocks from there. Oh yeah, we already looked at that. You ain't gonna get that. I said, okay. Boom, done. Don't try to make them work if they don't
Who was
work.
the owner? The owner was your mentor or something like that? Oh, okay, so you're like, oh.
Yeah, I looked at public record in 2 seconds, found out,
Yeah.
Oh, you already did that.
really?
Yeah.
So it looked familiar. The picture looked familiar. I'm like, why does that look familiar? So I called another friend who's got parks in that area. I said, is this? Yep, it is. Oh, okay. So, yeah, we looked at it a couple months ago. And then, but see, there's no sense going down that rabbit hole because he knows just as much as I do. And he's a big equity fund. He's going to get somebody to buy it, but
It's not going to be
6 months from now, they're going to be calling him and saying, what happened? Why did I buy this from you?
Yeah. Because he's not gonna leave enough there for them.
Yeah, exactly. And I shouldn't say that because I didn't run the numbers, but he probably will not, compared to, let's say, a mom and pop
Right.
or unsophisticated
Yeah, someone
seller
else.
says, listen, I need $1 million out because I gotta pay off my ex-wife and buy my house in Florida, that's it. Not, I need to maximize every dollar because I got 35 investors looking for a 20% return.
Right.
And this is another calculation. This is probably the biggest one that you need to get or understand. Your debt coverage ratio, which is basically your net operating income over your debt obligation, meaning 125 is the floor. If it's less than that, it doesn't work. And this is the best part about this is this, as well as the cash on cash and getting it financed. You can defer that to third person. Mr. Seller, man, I would love to pay you your $10 million. But as you know, my banker wasn't, you know that, right? Probably when you bought this, and then you remind, he's not going to admit it to the phone, but then you know what you're talking about. Unless you want to do seller financing, but again, I'm not going to stray too far from that 1.25, am I? No, because I'm going to have to finance sooner or later. 5 years, you're going to be knocking on my door. Well, yeah, but I bought it at a negative 1.25. Give me more time. No. So you got to make sure you know that. But that is the biggest one that you need to understand in commercial. And this is any commercial. This is self-storage, multifamily, lease option, or triple net leases, big box, whatever. That's the minimum. It does not matter. Now that's totally different than residential, right?
Right. Yeah.
Residential, heck, you could go buy the thing for 75% value, right? But in residential, I can improve on this by raising my rents and doing the building. Residential, you're locked in with the house next door across the street and a mile away. That's it. Boom. So that's the biggest one you need in commercials, 1.25. And again, going back to Marines, is you tell them, hey, this is what I'm looking at. I'd love to help you out, but I need to get this financed. I mean, even if you're going to do seller financing, you have to be somewhere around that, because again, your plan may not go as planned. You know, kicking out the people who are not paying, that may take longer than you think, and your investors are going, hey, where's my money? So that's probably the most important. But the cap rate is important, but you know what in the area is the cap rate. You can get that from the broker and ask them, hey, what are the cap rates going in this area if you don't know that area? And then you can say, well, why is this at a 3? Oh, well, it's the great, it's a great street, this, and they just put in a Dollar General. Well, what does that have to do with me? So when you're talking to the broker, if you do that, you kind of gather all intel from him, because he's there, he's a transactional engineer. He's looking to make money on selling that property. Right. But you got to ask the right questions, so you're buying it smarter than the guy. There's always going to be somebody to buy it higher than you. Just don't be that person. I know we talked. Okay, all right. So Maureen, you're cool with that?
Yes.
All right. Let's go, Mark.
Mark Adams. I'm also a real estate agent. I do mostly single-family residential, but the more I learn about commercial, the more it intrigues me, and I'm learning to move over that way.
Cool. Any challenges? Other than Maureen, but she can't talk about that right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you left for a minute. They work together. That's what.
No, just trying to learn it, figure it out, and get into it.
That's good. All right,
and
Mr.
he's
Grant.
also pricing properties for.
He's pricing properties for
Commercial?
I
you.
do a little commercial BPOs.
Yeah.
Not
Okay.
often, but occasionally.
Okay. So BPO, for people who don't know, is
Broker price opinion. It's when a bank wants to know the value of a home or a business, they'll call somebody like me that'll give them the value.
So this may be a good guy to get and take the coffee, because he's going to know before probably the owner knows that the bank, and in foreclosure situation, the commercial is a lot different than residential. It takes longer, and they typically put it in a receivership with a local property management company. So if he goes out, he would know before anybody else. Unlike residential foreclosure, they have to advertise in the paper. They don't do that in commercial.
And because he is pricing it, this is kind of good information to know, because
Sure.
you're also kind of looking at all of this as, value,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, because they're looking for a BPO or appraisal,
Yeah,
what's the
right.
value of this property? What are the rents here compared to the one next
Correct.
door? Why are they not up to par? Well, the owner sucked the blood out of it, hasn't done maintenance in 40 years, he's got 10 down units, and he's got fleas.
Right.
But that affects the price, because
Yeah.
the price in the commercial is the NOI, the net operating income.
Right.
I can raise and lower that, that's what the value is. For a single family home is the
Yeah.
value of the guy across the street.
Right.
Okay, awesome. Mr. Pat.
I've done a lot of commercial over many decades, but I always liked Pat's intuition and insight on the meat and potatoes of analysis. And I was looking at a park 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And Adrian of all cities.
Mhm.
And Pat told me, here's how you evaluate. So he gave me the whole rundown. You run an ad on Craigslist and see what kind of response. And you find the other parks nearby, what are they leasing their pads for? So I called and they came back and they're all in like the high threes. And so I emailed Pat back and I said, that's no big, we're chasing that rabbit. So
Now, it took me about 20 years to figure that out.
right. But
I
it
used
was
to
good
jump
stuff.
in and do shit, and
But again, you just go into
Sorry,
the
I didn't
these,
swear like that.
the debt coverage. If you don't have the income, then
Yeah.
don't buy. You can't make it work.
and that's probably the biggest thing you can't make work.
That's why the guy's got it for sale for 5 years. You can't, no one will buy it.
Exactly, and that's great too. Is if it's been for sale for a long time, there's a reason why. Same going back to the one in Northville here. That's gonna be sold. He'll probably just take it off and just let it sit. He's stuck in his mind as a price, and he thinks because he's owned it and it's in
It's an
downtown
emotional
Northville.
Exactly.
It's an asset.
It's an
It's
emotional
a piece
attachment.
of property. And that's great that he wants it. That's fantastic. And someday, maybe, but Michigan doesn't appreciate like that. We're not in Georgia. We're not in Florida. It's not going to happen.
New York, yeah.
But going back to what I said is, I didn't used to do that. I take
You
a
saved me
lot
probably
of,
months of
oh yeah,
research.
tooling around. Oh, I'm gonna make this. I have a system, and I developed that system. I didn't do it when I first got into real estate because I was crazy and young and had money, and But
You learn.
you learn to do that. Say, okay, here's the steps that I need to do.
Find
What's
the
the
process.
process I need to do? And I cut that emotional tie. And oh, it's a great location. Oh my God, I could do this. Yeah, what your dream is may not be the reality because there's nobody wanting to live in that, or nobody want to buy in that plaza, or that has been condemned by the city because it never did any good. So that's why I rely on a lot of data. You'll hear me say that I do a lot of data, and I can tell you which city is good, bad, ugly, based on employment, based on population, everything, and I don't move forward until that is satisfied, because in any business, more so in commercial, it's traffic. Unless there is no, other than maybe an industrial park that, sells hazardous waste, you want people to go buy it. Everything, plaza, net lease option, you want people.
But isn't it funny how you can see some plazas that
They'll
Like-
never make it.
they never make it, but the one across the street does?
Well, that's a lot of the holder too.
Sure. That or the owner, he's just, I need $14 a square foot.
Yeah.
Dude, it's
Right.
10 here. What? That's it. I'm not. And he'll leave it vacant for decades. But again, you'll run into those people that don't get caught in that. He's probably got it paid off, and it really doesn't
Matter.
And again, we're a different kind of investor. I'm looking for cash flow and long-term wealth compared to, I got my 10 buildings high, but I'm a grumpy old man. I'd rather be a grumpy old man in the sands of Cabo San Lucas and Costa Rica. Go, well, we rent that out yet? Good, I'm going back to the beach. That's it.
So with this park, I mean, it's interesting when Pat gets down and dirty, what to look for and how to look. So I had a conversation with the broker, and again, he's got stars in his eyes. That's what we got to get. I said, well, I'm going to be there at a lot lower number. And he goes, well, put together an offer, and the guy's been kicked for 5 years. Maybe he'll sell it on terms. The broker told me right over the phone. So
Even if terms, you can't fix, like we talked about, the population of that area is going down 2%. There's nothing you can do for that.
And let's
You
give
can't
him a
fix
bottom feeder price, like 150 grand. He's asking 275,
Yeah,
and
I mean,
I don't want it.
And you got to
Let him
see,
keep it.
especially with the
For mobile home.
Mobile home parks, you have to have demand.
Right.
You know, are people gonna be wanting to move into that city? And there's a quick way to do that, like you admit. You can run an ad real quick and figure out the demand. Same thing in apartments, you gotta have people wanting to live there. You know, if his rents are 400 and they've been 400 for the last 20 years, just because he wants to, or is that really what they are in that area?
And you're just running an ad that says, hey,
Exactly.
you wanna buy here?
Yeah,
You wanna
and
live
boom,
here?
You wanna live here
Boom.
and do that, boom. So that's the doing, same thing with a strip center, stuff like that. It's traffic counts for strip centers. You gotta have a traffic count. You can't have a big box. Where are all the dollar stores, Targets? They're not on the secondary road. They're not on a freaking back road. You gotta turn left. They're right on Main Street when 2,000 cars a minute are driving. Why? It's visibility. Same thing. That's what this is.
Impulse purchasing and visibility.
Yeah, exactly. But knowing that going in, you can then take out the ones you're looking at that don't make sense. That you're going to have to, I can overcome, or I can cut the trees down and put a sign here. Well, you may not be able to do that. I remember looking at a strip mall in Indiana. I'm sorry, did I say a strip mall? A self-storage facility. It was behind a Chinese restaurant. There's a big, huge pathway here, freeway here. Here's a Chinese restaurant here, and here's my self-storage. The guy that owned Chinese owned this, and there was no other way into this self-storage. And then he wanted me to negotiate. Well, you know, for that strip of land, you know, you got to pay me monthly for the traffic. Okay, yeah, but give me signage on your big sign. Well, again, it's all visibility. They don't know you're there. Nobody's going to rent you. They're going to rent the U-Haul down the street or public storage. Okay, cool, awesome. Anything more? Mark, how about you, sir? I know you're busy over there. I didn't mean to-
No. So my name's Mark Moffin. I've done a lot of commercial stuff a long time ago with Pat Winter. It was a very good experience. Our only mistake was we didn't hold the property. We looked at, had we held it, we wouldn't be here tonight. So what I've got is I've got a grant from Google for $120,000 to be able to use AdWords. So Pat, my question is, if I've got free grant money, all I want to do is have somebody donate me commercial property. And if somebody donates commercial property, unlike houses, if you donate a house, you can take 30% off your adjusted gross income, carry it forward up to 5 years. But if you're a business and you donate property, commercial property, you can take 10% off your net earnings and carry it forward up to 5 years. So it makes it a very lucrative thing. So my question is where would I place my ads to get the biggest bang for the buck? Because I've got free money. I run a nonprofit, so that's how I got the grant.
Commercial is a different beast as far as like average, like residential is really out there. You can go on Facebook and do the different groups out there that are specifically.
I can only do Google AdWords. I got a grant for $120,000.
Okay.
So that's my question. The second question is if I got a piece of commercial property given to me, and Dodd-Frank says you can't sell it on terms, is that correct?
No,
Okay.
you just have to be careful how you do it. Meaning, if they gifted it to you or donated it to your nonprofit, then you own it free and clear. So then you can lease with option on the other end to a person, or they buy it with cash.
I don't want to lease option. I don't want the liability exposure.
But you could sell it to an entity like an LLC, mine or Pat's, and then that LLC then lease options it out. Exactly.
So could I sell it to you for a ridiculous number like $5,000 and then take an option back in that property for 75% of the upside or something?
All right, let me disclaim this. I'm not a broker, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an accountant, I'm just legal help at all.
Everything I say is a lie.
Everything I say is a lie, yes.
Yeah.
That'll work.
There's a way to do it.
Uh-huh.
Legally, I don't know how to do it, but here's my take on it, is you would set up a separate LLC. Somebody would, you or somebody you know, you would be then a member of that LLC. That LLC would buy that, and then in the operating agreement would come back and say, certain profits go to either you or your nonprofit.
Well, it would have to be the charity. In the case, when you run a charity, 100% is going to the
Okay.
from
But
my,
yes, but-
on my side of it.
Okay, for your portion of it, even though you are just a member of that charity, not the charity itself.
Yeah.
Understand that LLC and a
The
corporation
charity-
is totally different
The
than a
charity
person.
could form an LLC, remove itself from the liability, and possibly do the deal.
Yeah, we talked to a real estate attorney or a trust attorney. There's one in downtown Norfolk. But there's a way to structure that where you sell it or transfer that. See, I think a nonprofit would have to show that we took in this property and there has to be a disposition of that property. Either money,
Conveyance.
or something like that.
Yeah.
And then what happens to that over here, back to
Do you have
you.
any keyword research on keywords like you had? If you were
I say
doing-
1031 exchange. I would say tax-free wealth. I would say let's see what else. If I had a lot of money or had a property that I couldn't get rid of, and I just needed a tax write-off, tax write-offs,
Mhm.
commercial tax write-offs. Trying to think. Any suggestions, guys and gals? So he's looking what he's doing. And I don't mean to oversimplify it. What he's looking for is on Google, when you search on Google, and you go in here and go, I'm looking to see, I'll do healthy things. He has of course it's not. Anyway, Google AdWords. So when you search something on the right-hand side or on the top part is Google AdWords that pop up. Based on what you type in, somebody has those keywords. Let's say buy house near me or restaurant. That's why you see ads on the right or left or above that are exactly what you put in. Those are what he's talking about. So to get those to appear on searches, you use keywords. You ever been to let's do it this way. Have you ever been to a website looking for shoes or something like that? And you go to another website and all of a sudden you see the same thing? It's called retargeting. They know what you search for, so that's why that ad pops up when you go to the next thing and the next thing. So that's what we're talking about here. It's called retargeting based on your keywords. So what I'm trying to do is find property owners who have property that have this situation we're talking about. I have a building that I need to get rid of. I can't sell it because I've made too much money or my estate has made too much money. I need some type of write-off. So I would say tax write-off, commercial building write-off. So that's what we're talking about, something like that, where somebody searching somewhere pulls it up for how tax-free wealth or tax-free wealth would be a good one. That ad would come up with those keywords in it, saying, "Oh, okay, I can give away my business and get all the tax benefits of it. Now I can take that," and that's we loop back around. We talked about opportunity zones earlier. That's exactly the reason for doing an opportunity zone. They're deferring taxes. Same thing as a 1031 exchange. Does everybody know what a 1031 exchange is? Okay, 1031 exchange is if we have a commercial building and I want to sell it, I can transfer, I should say, sell it and move the proceeds without paying taxes into a similar property or greater value property. If I have a $5 million tax that I'm going to get taxed on, I can move that $5 million to the next building and the next one and never pay taxes on it until I'm dead. So that's what a 1031 exchange is. So sometimes you'll run into it's a 1031 exchange property, meaning they need to sell it and then transfer those funds tax-free. So each time you sell a building, you make $5 million, $10 million. You just keep going and never pay taxes on it. It's legal.
But you have to do it within a certain time frame.
And 60 to 90 days is typical, or 121 days. You have to identify a property that you're going to go in 90 days. You have to have closed everything by 120. And sometimes that's very hard to do, especially in a market like this. But those are just advanced strategies you can do, but you can see how people would end up with hotels and stuff like this. They have that much money because it's tax-free. And going from a 1031 into an opportunity zone that's now tax-deferred for 20 years, and you get the cash flow, and you get the depreciation write-off, and when Trump says he never pays taxes, he doesn't pay taxes. You have to do 1 or 2 deals, and you now will pay taxes again.
The code's there for everyone.
Exactly. He legally uses the code to do that. What was I doing?
You were looking up Google.
Okay,
word.
I hope I
Ad
explained
word.
it. I don't want to.
Google
But anyway,
AdWords.
so did I give you suggestions?
Yeah, I took notes.
I know there's a Google search so you can go in and put in like real estate. But that's a good quandary to be in. Like, what would a building owner search on if I needed to get rid of this property?
You should be in that quandary because I have a relationship with you.
Oh, that's right, I am in that quandary. So
Not that I'm trying to reverse.
let's think about this, Frank. So I have a building, let's say I have a building. I need to get rid of this for tax purposes. So what would be something that
It might not be for tax purposes, it could be.
well, estate planning,
It could be because the wife got it and the husband died, or it could be that it's a non-producing property. It could be it's got functional obsolescence. It could be a lot of things that people will have a reason to get rid of. Just a plain dull
Inherited
owner.
property.
Yeah.
Inherited property problems.
Or tax
Inherited-
problems, like property tax problems.
Yeah, property tax problems. That would be a good one.